So Cracker Barrel got a brutal reality check after this hilarious background that actually sent the company scrambling to undo months of rebranding decisions. You see, Cracker Barrel is making big changes and it's not subtle. You see, Cracker Barrel just removed every DEI and Pride page from its website after facing the massive backlash from its own customers. So yeah, as you all can see, Cracker Barrel also reversed its logo design after loyal diners rejected a new direction completely. And these moves show that Cracker Barrel is under serious pressure to win back people who actually keep the business alive. So it's also interesting to see that, you know, Cracker Barrel is actually choosing to remove its DEI and Pride listings from its website after the brutal reality check from this hilarious backfire. So as you all can see here from thatpopulist.com, they erased DEI and Pride messaging. Now, the most revealing part is not the logo. It's what Cracker Barrel did online. You see, the Pride and DEI pages and stuff that used to highlight the rainbow-themed campaigns and parade and sponsorships and bringing the porch to Pride have been deleted. As you can see here, in its place, it's a vague culture and belonging statement, all right, that says almost nothing. So basically, it's an obvious attempt that just to trying to hide how far they went chasing from approval from activist groups. Now, this follows one of the most embarrassing marketing failures that we've seen from a major restaurant chain. You see, Cracker Barrel actually rolled out a sterile text-only logo design, as you all remember, to look trendy, stripping away Uncle Herschel and even removing the old country store tagline. That iconic Southern branding was the company's identity, and they threw it out like it meant nothing. Okay, so loyal customers actually revolted immediately, and the fallout was actually brutal. You see, conservative voices online called it brand destruction, and the Cracker Barrel stock price took a hit. Now, families, retirees, and even travelers, the people who actually eat at Cracker Barrel weren't really impressed, with some, Silicon Valley rebrand. Now, management had no choice but to go ahead and reverse course and bring back the old logo within days, but people dug deeper. They realized the branding change was just the surface of a much bigger problem. Now, that's when Cracker Barrel's corporate DEI strategy came under the spotlight. You see, customers discovered entire sections of the company's site dedicated to DEI initiatives and Pride campaigns, including pages that's featuring rainbow rocking chairs and sponsorship of Pride parades. You see, these weren't buried footnotes at all. They were actually front and center. The backlash doubled, and now those pages are now gone. So why did Cracker Barrel make this move? Well, there's three main reasons and stuff as stated in the article. First, customers rejected it outright. You see, the company's base didn't ask for DEI statements for politically charged campaigns. They wanted a family restaurant focused on good food and tradition. And second, Cracker Barrel got caught up in a much larger fight that dragged them into the cultural spotlight. And third, money talks. The financial fallout scared management into action. Okay, so when your stock dips and your diner starts, walking away, being your customers, you either adjust or you collapse. Cracker Barrel learned that lesson quickly. After the logo backlash, continuing to push DEI messaging would have actually been like throwing gasoline on the fire. So by removing those pages, the company is actually trying to rebuild trust with the customers that actually keep its doors open. Now, political pressure played a big role here too. Even, the president called out Cracker Barrel's decision, trying to go ahead and turn it into a bigger conversation, about corporate America abandoning its roots for the woke approval. Now, conservative voices out there like Robbie Starbuck actually amplified the issue, pointing to the fact that Cracker Barrel's DEI content as proof of how disconnected leadership had actually become from its customer base. Now, the financial side of this can't be ignored either. All right. The investors themselves watched as, the logo controversy spiraled and saw Cracker Barrel chasing trends instead of just focusing on what made it successful in the first place. Confidence slipped, and that kind of hit spooks everyone, from shareholders to franchise owners. Removing DEI messaging is a clear signal that the company is actually trying to stabilize itself before the damage actually gets worse. But this isn't Cracker Barrel's first identity crisis. You see, back in the 90s, the company faced heavy criticism over internal policies. By the 2000s, it's pivoted in the opposite direction, chasing high marks on the Human Rights Campaign's Corporate Equity Index. Cracker Barrel spent years trying to please activist groups instead of focusing on the diners filling their restaurants. Now, it worked for a while, at least on paper, but now the costs are actually catching up to them. And you know what? Cracker Barrel is not alone in this. We've seen the same collapse play out with Bud Light, Target, and even Disney. These brands actually thought that, leaning into progressive campaigns and stuff would actually protect them from criticism, but it only alienated their audiences or the core customers. Now, Cracker Barrel is just the latest company to figure out the hard way that activists don't keep businesses afloat. It's actually the paying customers. But what actually makes this even more interesting is that the speed of Cracker Barrel's reversals. You see, within weeks, the company scrapped the logo, erased the DEI content, and tried to shift the narrative back forward towards tradition. But the trust issue isn't solved just by hitting, deletes. People are actually watching to see if Cracker Barrel truly get it this time, or they'll just quietly bring back these initiatives once the backlash actually dies down. But by removing its DEI and Pride pages, it seems to me that Cracker Barrel is signaling that it wants to return to its roots, or so it would think. But if that's real, the company has to commit. That means sticking to what made it successful: family-friendly dining, Southern nostalgia, and a consistent brand identity. The people walking through the doors, don't want a rainbow rocking chairs. They want the food, the atmosphere, and the comfort that they've always associated with the name itself. Now, this shift also proves that customer voices still matter. Social media backlash, stock price pressure, and public criticism forced Cracker Barrel to go ahead and listen when polite feedback is not working. You see, the company spent years trying to go ahead and impress activist organizations, but it was the everyday diners who had the final say so. And they're the reason why Cracker Barrel still has a chance to go ahead and rebuild its brand. All right. Now, the bigger story here is that businesses are starting to actually realize that chasing political points is bad for the bottom line. Now, Cracker Barrel thought that they could modernize without consequence, but their customers actually made it clear. Simply stay out of identity politics and just focus on what you do best. If they stick to that, they can recover. If they don't, they'll keep finding themselves in the same cycle of backlash and retreat. So Cracker Barrel tried to be trendy and it blew up in their face. From the logo disaster to the deleted DEI and Pride campaigns, the company has learned an expensive lesson about ignoring its audience. Now, the future of Cracker Barrel still depends on whether the leadership truly listens this time or slips back into chasing approval from activists. But right now, customers are giving them, well, I don't know if they're giving them any chances anymore, but what they do with it, it will decide if the brand survives or not. So let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Are you going to Cracker Barrel? Or are you done with them? Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Be sure to smash the like button in the video if you enjoy or shared in it. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on the bell for future uploads, notifications, and I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, peace.